Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Ryan and Grant for another episode of Grant Teach Me Something. This is episode 34, and today we're going to be talking about 2x cash and LTV requirements, whatever that means. So please, Mr. Master, Sir, of all things Grant Kemp life.
That was well phrased. I appreciate the elegance.
What are we talking about, man?
So today we're going to be talking about a couple of rules of thumb that are going to be really applicable to you if you're trying to get into some more of these creative situations, some more of these situations that aren't just, hey, I can wholesale this, hey, I can flip this for cash. Because when you're wholesaling, when you're flipping for cash, it's really easy to analyze that. You take whatever your percentage is, 75% of the ARV and back out repairs, and that's what you offer your seller. But when you start getting into more of these creative aspects, these creative ways of buying houses like subject to and owner financing and all of these kinds of things, a lot of those principles go out the window. I think it was maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago we did like here's a list of reasons why seller financing is awesome. And one of those was that our LTV requirements are much higher. We can buy a house at 90-95% and it still make a ton of money. And
by requirements, it shouldn't be standards, because when I think requirements, I'm like, oh, you're required to do this, because it almost has like a negative connotation.
Sure.
So in this phrasing of it, it's almost it's a positive that you're at 95, not negative.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so yeah, maybe we do change that up. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. However you want to think about it, there our way of analyzing deals is a little bit different with this creative strategy, because we're not throwing so much cash out. So we do get the positive of being able to buy at 90 or 95 cents and still make 6 figures on a deal.
So before we get too far into that, let's kind of just really quickly graze what standard is. Like standard would be, and neither one of us are hard money lenders, neither one of us are lawyers, financial planners, but
right.
I would say what? 75%, that's typical, or
yeah,
maybe
so
not,
I think
80%?
most lenders,
I think
most lenders are going to be between 70 and 75% is what they want to see you at, which means that if your ARV is 100, they want your total basis to be, let's say, $75,000, which means if you have a $15,000 rehab budget that you can buy the house for 60, put 15 in, they'll give you the $75,000.
But ultimately, they want some sort of skin in the game.
Yeah, they'll ask for points or something. Most of the time,
yeah,
those lenders are going to get something to get some skin in the game. But their LTV requirements, loan to value, is going to be somewhere in that 70 to 75 cent range. Now, here in DFW, our market's been really hot for a really long time. I mean, several years now, where kind of the going rate, if you're going to buy a house for cash from a wholesaler, kind of the going rate is about that 80 to 82% mark, which a lot of guys, if they are getting hard money, they're going to be putting 5 to 7% down and then getting the 75% loan from a hard money lender, and that's kind of where their skin in the game comes from. But people are buying at 80, 82. I don't really recommend that with an all cash purchase. And yes, I get that you're getting lending from a hard money lender in this case, but at the end of the day, there is $82,000 going to somebody, changing hands at a title company. At 82,000 actual dollar bills are moving somehow, okay? And you need to protect those dollars. I do recommend you go back and watch a couple of episodes ago where we were talking about the benefits of seller financing, because we discussed this. You need to protect those dollars. That's why you get a title policy on a deal like that. That's why you've got these LTV requirements that say, hey, we should be buying at 70 or 75 cents, because that affords you room to screw up, right? That gives you room to screw up and pay closing costs and all that kind of stuff.
Right, and I wouldn't even say the word screw up. I would just call it inevitable.
Yeah.
Because no matter how much of a pro or how many houses you've done or how exacting your spreadsheet or planning software you may use is, there's always going to be something stupid. There's always going to be
termites behind the wall.
Termites. I forgot to include the lawn mowing, or there's always something. And that's why ultimately, if you knew exactly what every house would sell for, and you knew exactly how much every house would cost to get there, you could buy it 98% cash all day long, because I may only make 2% on the deal, but if it's a guaranteed, why not?
Yeah, if it was an absolute guarantee. But that's the key, is that it never is, right?
Never.
And that's why we have those requirements in the cash game. Well, that all kind of starts going out the window when you start talking about doing an owner financed deal, because it's like, well, with owner financing, you might not have any cash changing hands. I mean, there's a very real situation that, I mean, I've bought a lot of houses where literally they are just giving me the house. My promise to them is that I'm going to continue to make those payments on their behalf, which is a subject to deal. And so why would I need to insist on a 75% LTV at that point in time when literally none of my cash has been risked? Literally none of the cash of any of my lenders or anybody that I know is actually on the line. The only thing on the line here is the contract that we've signed and our future income that could be coming from it, right?
Yeah, so if the question on the table is why would you stick to a 75% number? Because you've arbitrarily stick it to it because that's what industry standards are. And again, we're using 75% to make it easy, but again, your market may be 70%, it may be 72, maybe 85, who knows?
Right, yeah, it could be whatever, but we're just, again, that's good of you to point out. We're just kind of using what our market sees. So one of my big drives in this industry is to help open up people's eyes to some of the other options that you have for taking down deals, because we see HGTV and they show you, well, yeah, you buy a house for too much and you put too much money into it and then you make money at the end. Woo!
All while being a janitor.
All while being what?
A janitor.
A janitor, right, exactly.
Hey, I bought this $800,000 house. What do you do for a living? I'm a self-employed entrepreneur and I clean houses.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Not that you can't do that.
I make cookies out of my kitchen, and he's a janitor at the local high school. Our budget is $950,000. So I don't know. What I'm getting at here is that wholesaling and fix and flipping, those tend to be the things that everybody knows about, and so a lot of us push into that world. Likely a lot of you started out as wholesalers or maybe starting out as wholesalers. And so you've got this mentality. My drive is I want you to be able to understand that, hey, there are deals. You can make a ton of money off of deals that you currently think are trash. I'm trying not to clap loud because I've got my microphone right here, so I'm just like my little Hercules clap. You can make a lot of money off of deals that would otherwise be considered trash by conventional means. So if we are not risking actual cash of ourselves or anybody else, then yeah, it's okay to push those boundaries a little bit. It's okay to push what you're putting into a deal. So here's the whole point of our video, which is I have two major rules of thumb, really three, that I like to live by when analyzing a deal for creative means. When analyzing a deal with owner finance means, methods, whatever, it's not, hey, I have to buy this at 75 cents. It's what's like a quick, not litmus test, but like a quick thing to run it by to see if this is actually going to make me money or not, right? Whatever that word would be.
Like in standard, or are you just asking
for the owner financing?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not owner finance guy.
So
that's why I'm leaning on you.
So that's what we're doing. 2 times cash, LTV requirement, which I'll talk about here in a second when you've got cash on the line, and then our reimbursement timelines. So first, let's jump into 2 times cash. Okay. So if you're looking at a deal with owner financing, you're looking to do something with creative means, and that deal requires 0 money out of pocket, you should probably be fine at whatever, 95, 100%. I've bought houses at 105% and still made a ton of money on them when I didn't have to put any money out on the line. But once you start putting money out on the line, now you need to protect that cash. The way that I say to protect that cash, it's just a quick rule of thumb, and you should always do your due diligence and learn how to really dig into these deals. The way that I'm going to run that is I'm going to say whatever amount of cash that you put into this deal, okay? Say that they're $10,000 behind on payments, and the house is in perfect shape, so you don't have to do anything to it. Well, you put $10,000 in to buy this house. I would like for you to double that number, 2 times your cash, and that's the amount of equity that I'd like to see in your deal once you've closed on the property and caught their payments up.
I feel like this is an opportunity to get a notepad and a pen and say, huh? Can you start over?
I will.
Because, for us half listeners, maybe we're driving, maybe we're doing something else, maybe we're listening in the background. About 3/4 the way through, I was like, oh shit, I probably should have been taking
like, wait a minute, he was actually saying something.
That sounded like something important.
Yeah. So, okay, so here's what it is whatever cash you put into a deal.
Cash in.
Cash in. And this is going to include your arrearages that you're paying for somebody, the repairs that you're putting into a deal, whatever cash you may be giving your seller.
When you say cash in, is it out of pocket or just
pure cash?
Whether I'm taking money from a lender or whatever. Just
yeah. I mean, whether you're taking money from a lender or whatever cash you're putting in.
What needs to come to the table, not necessarily where it comes from to get to the table.
And this is, exactly. And this is a rule of thumb, right? So I want to overly stress that this is a quick way to do a quick test. But things are going to be different, and that's one of the things I'll hammer at the end of, like, rules of thumb are made to be broken. They're just made to give you a quick idea of what's going on. So if you've got a lender bringing in some of the cash, maybe that's going to make you choose to decide to ignore this rule, and that's okay. I just want you to have a reason of why you're ignoring any kind of rule of thumb. That's what it should all be. So
real quick, I just want to address a comment from Mr. Toby Potter, who's an OU fan and will probably lose this season, but it's okay because we are getting close to college football season, so therefore, let the trash talking commence. But he says, Ryan is slow and you must speak in slow and in Big Bird.
And in Big Bird.
You know what? I'll own that. I'll own that. Not all of us can be creative financing, owner financing, sub to just awesomenesses. And not all of us can, grow up not having electricity and going to school where there's nothing. OU?
Oh, okay. Thank you. I was like, I'm not following on this one. You're just making fun of poor people now?
No.
Did you know we're real estate investors? We buy houses for fun. Some people don't have electricity.
That a way to take my... Anyway, let's get back to it before people run away on this.
So here we go. Let's go over to the whiteboard real quick. Sonia asked to do a whiteboard here, so I will abide. The dude abides. So my deal is whatever cash you put in. Again, that could be arrearages to catch their payments up, cash to pay for the repairs that need to occur, or cash you're giving to your seller to sell your house, for them to sell their house to you, subject to. Add that all up. That's the cash you're putting in. Mm-hmm. I want that amount doubled as equity. So if we say that we've got a $10,000 back payment, and we've got a $10,000 rehab, and we're giving $5,000. Actually, you know what? I'm going to delete that because I don't want y'all to think that way. So that would mean that we have $20,000 in cash. This is our cash basis. Okay. One of the very first episodes that we did was about terms. I'm gonna be throwing out a lot of terms like basis, cash basis, total basis, LTV, blah blah blah. If you got any questions on terms, I think it was episode 2 that we did that, or episode 2 or 3. We go over all kinds of terms like that. But we're $20K in. Mm-hmm. So if this house has an ARV of $100,000, and I want 2 times my cash as equity in the deal, how much could I buy that house for? First off, what's 2 times our 20?
40.
40.
So there needs to be equity in the deal.
So I would like to have $40,000 of equity in the deal. If the house is worth $100,000, what should my loan balance be whenever we close?
60?
60. That's my 2 times cash rule.
Okay.
So what we've got here is, well, let me turn it to orange here. We've got 100 minus 40 grand, which is the 2x cash, which means that we would have to be taking over on a loan whose loan balance is 60K. You guys follow me there? I'm talking about buying a house subject to,
right,
having to catch it up with $10,000 worth of back payments,
got it,
having to put $10,000 worth of rehab into it. So my cash basis is 20. I'm going to double that number, and I want that amount in equity, which means that if this house was a $100,000 house,
it needs to have at least 40.
I want 40,000 of equity, which means that the loan balance that we're taking over on subject to should be about 60 or below.
And if we go further down the rabbit hole, 60,000 is what's on the loan balance. I take that over sub 2. 10,000 goes to the arrears. 10,000 goes to the rehab. Now my all in on this project is still 20. But I still owe 60 on it, but I have 40 in equity.
Right. So in this case, when we talk about phrases, right, I said my cash basis. We've put $20,000 in cash, so that's our cash basis. Mm-hmm. We have a loan balance of 60. So we have a total basis on this deal of $80,000
Right, and if we got a second to get that 20,000, we'd have a first lien of 60 and a second of 20.
Right. Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
How's that, Toby? I can do math.
So that's my 2 times cash rule. Now, let me because we went over a lot. Let me see if anybody has questions on that before I kind of get into some more explaining on this stuff. Do we have any questions that have popped up so far?
No.
Okay, cool. I'm just checking on my CreativeCashFlow.com.
Because
Facebook.
Toby's watching, I'll just say we're probably still too far above his head at the moment. To be fair, me and Toby were cool.
Ryan has a good question. Do you consider closing costs to be cash in as well? That's a really good question, Ryan. Yeah, so I would. So keep in mind that your acquisition closing costs are going to fall on you. Disposition, whenever you're selling with owner financing, we have our buyer pay all the closing costs on the disposition of an owner financed property. But as you're acquiring, there's going to be some stuff that falls on your back. So that would count. Again, all of the cash, any cash that you've spent to get that deal, by the time you have closed on the acquisition, I want you to have 2 times that amount of cash. And when I say closed on the acquisition, I'm actually counting the rehab dollars, even though you won't have spent those yet. But I'll explain why I'm specifying on the closing here in a second. I want 2 times that as your equity. So that's a really good question.
Can you make a different color real quick?
Yeah.
And then I want to play. So say, and again, you need to consult your lawyer before you do this because I don't know the legalities of this. But say you did a cash for keys of $5K. That's a 5.
So actually, yeah, I was specifically avoiding that. But
if you did, then that would make that 25,
correct.
Which would make this number 50, which would make this number 50. So therefore, same scenario, but even just doing the cash for keys of 5, it just makes everything else change. Okay, but again, don't do that unless you consult your attorneys.
Well, and it's not necessarily that it's a consult your attorney thing. The reason why I avoided that is that you should be able to buy subject to houses without paying your seller for that house. And I'm glad you brought this up here because I did want to address this.
Just like 30 minutes from now.
So like one of my first business partners that I brought in, and so he was actually one of my mentor students. He was freaking killing it, and I brought him in as a partner on one of my companies. Continued to kill the game. I ended up buying him out, and he's just freaking balling out. He's awesome. Anyway, when he worked with me, I guess he was a partner. When he worked with me, at the beginning, he was like dead set. He was giving everybody $5,000 to get out, and like I kept telling him, we don't pay people for their houses. They give us their house. Like that, there's no reason. I say there's no reason. That's very much wrong. Very few times will you run into a situation where you have to pay them money to get out.
Right.
Now, if you go into this with the mentality of, yeah, I got to pay people $5,000, $10,000 to get out, you're going to be wasting $5,000 or $10,000 of cash. The most I pretty much ever pay anybody to get out of their house is $2,500 on a subject to deal.
Right, but every once in a while you are going to run into
it.
An individual who's just not motivated, doesn't care, it's pre-foreclosure, fine, it's going to go to foreclosure.
Right.
And you got to pay that person cash keys. And then also you may have to pay the person that brought you the lead. Anyway,
but that's separate.
That would all be cash. But that would still be in that cash basis thing.
Right.
That bin. And the only reason I said the cash for keys, consult an attorney, is because if it is a short sale or foreclosure or whatever, banks may frown about somebody getting money.
Well, when you're buying subject to and you're catching up their arrears, well, I mean, it's never a bad idea just to say consult your attorney. But
yeah, or financial planner, tax accountant, all of the above.
Good job, Ryan.
You're welcome.
No, I was saying this, Ryan. I'm sorry. Good job, Ryan, for the question of the all cash in thing. You do a good job too. So how do you make a sub to a good deal when there is no equity?
Ryan emoji. We need a sad Ryan graphic. It's like,
Wade has the question, so how do you make a sub to a good deal when there's no equity? Contradictory to this. Okay, so that's going to be, we're going to get to that, Wade. That's part of what we're talking about here. So again, the basis of our logic is the less cash you have in on the deal, the higher LTVs you can buy in at, because you don't have to worry about protecting that capital. Now, what we looked at here is that we saw, let's say that last example, $25,000. That would mean I would like to have $50,000 worth of equity in there. But as we're seeing these numbers get bigger and bigger, the arrearage numbers, or the arrear numbers that we're seeing, I mean, we're running into people that are $40,000 behind, and then you got to put 20 grand in to fix the house at $60,000. Doubling that, getting 120 grand in equity, most of the time is unreasonable. Most of the time in these kinds of situations, it's unrealistic, right? And so that's where I've got a caveat to my 2x cash rule that says, if you are putting cash into a deal, first off, you'd like to have 2x cash. But if you don't, I'd like you to be in at like 82% of the ARV. That is when I'm cool with going 82 cents. Because let's say, for example, you've got $25,000 here, and we've got a $60,000 loan balance. Well, that would mean that your total basis at this point in time is $85,000. That's pushing it. Because what that means is that, I mean, it's still, again, it's a rule of thumb, so you can break it if you've got a reason you want to move forward with it. You should just know what you're doing is all I'm getting at. But if we're at 85 cents here, that doesn't really leave room to liquidate and get your money back. The whole purpose of having these types of rules of thumb is, what happens if I get into a squeeze, things start going wrong, I should be able to get my cash out of this deal. At the very minimum, I should be able to break even. That's really the key of like why the 70-75 cent rule exists, is that even if stuff goes wrong, and even if this lasts too long and blah, 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 you should at least break even.
It's all about risk mitigation.
Exactly. So this is my hopefully you'll at least break even mark. Double the equity, you should be fine. Or double the cash, you should be fine. If you can't double that cash, are you in at 82 cents? Because then you've basically just subsidized that 82 cent purchase with whatever the loan balance currently is, and it's still probably fine to get into at that point in time. But it gets a little bit dangerous as you start pushing that mark a little bit.
Real quick, while we're sitting here, make sure you're liking this, make sure you're sharing this, help us out. We want to bring the entire real estate investor community all over the United States in on what we're doing here. Typically what we talk about is relative or relevant all across the country. So yeah, there's some specifics to Texas, but whatever.
Yeah.
But make sure we expand this market, help us out. The only way we could do this for free is if we have your help getting our message out there of what we're up to. Obviously, we don't do the sales pitches that much. That said, Propelio.com. I forgot my sales pitch. Propelio.com if you need access to MLS comp or access to MLS comps, to off-market lead lists, and if you need your investor-friendly websites, hit up Propelio.com. We also, October 1st, we have the Propelio Academy that's going to be launching, which will be huge. Mr. Grant Kemp did about, I don't know, 2 million hours worth of filming. Very proud of him and very gracious for that. We have a whole host of other people, so make sure you check that out. As far as specifically for today, make sure you're asking questions. Jump in the commentary. That's what it's all about. The reason we do this live and we do it on Facebook and YouTube is so you can ask questions and we can get you involved. That's all I got.
Perfect. Okay, so we've got our 2x cash rule. Now I want to address, like Wade said, so how do you make a sub-2 contract or deal a good deal when there's no equity? Go back and watch our videos, our Grant Teach Me Something on Subject 2 and on wraparounds, because we do talk about like how to structure that deal to make it work. Right here today, what we're talking about, and like I think I've said enough times already at this point in time, of like if you don't have cash in the deal, you can buy it 90, 95 cents. You can buy it 105%. So that'll work for you.
Real quick, Brady Durr on YouTube, he's asking, what about the numbers are no-go and when they are go? So is there a rule of thumb? Is that the rule of thumb for go, no-go?
Yeah, that's my go, no-go. It's like, if I hit my 2x cash, I'm solid. If I don't hit 2x cash, do I hit 82%? I'm probably solid. If I don't hit either of those, why am I doing the deal?
So it's almost like you have your front line, hell yeah, I pulled the trigger, don't even have to think about it.
Right.
Then it's like, it's not dead, but let's think about it a little bit more.
Right.
And then you just go through your layers. Because at the end of the day, if it's a negative equity deal, but yet you are highly confident that that neighborhood's going to change in the next 2 to 3 months, where your $100,000 purchase is actually going to be a $400,000, $500,000 lot value, you know, that's those are decisions. I'm obviously that's exaggerating,
Right.
but not really.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know.
that's really just to get to, like, that is my definition of a rule of thumb. I teach these rules of thumb, but the point of them is, hey, run them by these rules of thumb. And I like how you phrased that. It's like you've got your front line of defense, don't even think about it. Do you've got the caveat? Okay, let's think about it a little bit harder and decide if we're going to go. If you don't meet one of those, do anything you want. I'm not telling you not to do something, but I am telling you, you better be able to tell me why you're doing it and not
Right.
just be like, well, I need to get a deal under my belt.
Because ultimately, you got to come back to this whole concept of it's a competitive market, and you got to be quick to the trigger, and you have to go after it as quickly as possible. So if you come across a screaming deal where it meets your first level of rule of thumb, pull the trigger and lock that thing up and get that closed. Because guess what? If you don't, Grant's coming in right behind you, and he will.
Right. So I'm about to drop some. This is going to be something that a lot of people need to hear. So if you have anybody that you think that this situation may pop up for, tag them here, because this is about to be some interesting information that's going to dispel a lot of what people think is happening out there and is not happening. And where the situation is this situation. I am looking at a loan balance on a statement that says they owe $60,000. I am looking at a thing that tells me that they are $15,000 behind. Does that mean that they actually owe $75,000? Or does that mean that they actually owe $45,000? Or does that mean something else? And the spoiler is, it means something else.
I know the answer.
But before we say the answer, tag some people, because this is going to be a situation that a lot of people run into. So if you know some investor friends who are looking at foreclosure houses or anybody that might be behind
What
on
were the two
payments,
numbers? 60,000. That what now?
so I'm going to say that the loan balance on the statement says I owe $60,000.
And what was the 15?
And we are $15,000 behind in payments.
So I'm not going to spoil this for you, but I know the answer because I watch and participate in Grant Teach Me Somethings, because I made this mistake in front of all you guys. So if you can find that episode and point me out, more power to you.
And most people do, and that's why I'm saying tag some people. Tag some people. Anybody that you know that's marketing to pre-foreclosures, tag them right now so that they can learn how this goes. Because this is one of the big things that causes people to lose deals that actually were a deal because they're running it wrong in their head.
The answer is, if it's 60 in loan, 15 behind, you only have to pay them $1.
I think that's true.
That's not.
That's not true. Okay, so I gave y'all
Entertainment purposes only, people. It's free.
gave y'all a chance. As times go, here is our golden nugget of information. Okay, let's pop over to the whiteboard. When we are looking at a deal, what is our payment made up of? P for what is that?
Principal.
P? What is the I?
Interest.
What is the T?
Taxes.
What is the I?
Insurance.
Okay, so let's say that our money out every week is $500, or every month is $500 for each of these, just for a sake of argument, okay?
So $2,000 payment. I can do math.
So we have a total of a $2,000 payment. Now, if we're 5 months behind, all of these are going to pile up. We're going to multiply this by 5, and the arrears will be $10,000, right? But that means that in each of these categories, we have $2,500 of accrued whatever that is. Okay? So my question to you is, when we close on this deal, which of these columns, when we catch up the payments, which of those columns is actually going to affect the principal on the loan balance of this loan?
The interest or the principal? The taxes? The insurance? All of it.
So
none of it.
I want you guys.
$1.
I want you guys to chime
72.
in here. I want to see what you guys have to say about here, because this is exactly what we're trying to figure out.
Well, there's also I mean, because you got to think about it, even if nobody has libraries anymore, but if you forget to bring your library book, you have late fees.
Well, yeah, and I'm not including that right now. So
fees,
I mean, what it would actually be is like $10,000 in arrears plus, like, $2,200 worth of attorney's fees and late fees and stuff like that. So your arrearages are actually like the money you're going to use to catch them up is going to be, oops, 12,000, like 12,200, something like that. But I'm just keeping it simple for now. And I'm just showing just in pure back payments. And I want you guys to chime in with me. Out of these 4 columns, PITI, when we catch this up, how much, I want you to put the dollar amount in the comments. What is the dollar amount that will be subtracted off of the loan once we pay that bank $10,000? Well, I guess I say what's the dollar amount. They're all the same.
So, shit. $2,500.
$2,500. I'm right. Okay, which column? P, I, T, or I? Which of those?
What's that? Oh, he said go back to the screen.
Oh, go back to the screen. Sorry. I was trying to look for comments there. I guess you can monitor comments here.
P,
so which of these columns? P, I, T, or I is going to
Nicole says principal.
Nicole.
Fernando says principal, and he says an I, but he doesn't say
P and I.
He doesn't say which one.
Yeah, principal and interest is what it's going. This is why we're talking about that. So, all right, we've got 2 different inputs on the same question here. What up, guys? Thanks for the shirt. What's up, Jeremy?
Where's my pictures, man?
Where's the picture? Okay, so the answer is the P. Only the principal is going to affect the principal when you pay up those arrearages.
Why is it when I said that, you looked at me like I was stupid?
Because I was waiting on them to answer. And I was just letting it was going to be a moment of participation here. So we have 4 options that go into this total payment. Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So if you have a $10,000 back payment, only the P is going to affect that loan balance. So again, using our numbers, if you are staring at a loan statement that says $60,000 on it, and you see that they are $10,000 behind in payments, when you go to the closing table and you pay up those arrearages, their new loan balance is going to be
$57,500.
$57,500. Everything else is just paying the bank back the interest that they're owed and the taxes and insurance, the escrow that they've already paid. You're just reimbursing the bank for that amount of money. The P is actually going towards principal.
So the myth here is most people think if it's 60 in balance and 15 in arrears, if I pay 15, oh well, now it's down to 45.
Exactly.
That's the myth.
That's the myth. Most people think, oh, I'm going to pay $15,000 and I owe 45, or the other thing that most people think is, well, we're going to pay $15,000 and still have a $60,000 balance because they really owe 75, but they're showing us on the statement of 60.
Yeah, but the healthier of the 2 opinions is probably you pay 15 and still owe 60.
It is.
Because, okay, 60 and 57.5 is pretty damn close.
It is, but the reason why I'm stressing this and the reason why I'm bringing this up, and again, guys, if you know anybody hitting pre-foreclosures in marketing, or you know some groups that are marketing specifically for foreclosures, people behind might want to do creative, share this to that group, tag this person, let them know that we just explained this massive myth because it's one of the biggest myths that are out there. The reason why I'm stressing on this is that when you start looking at tight deals, which is what Subject 2 is all about, you start looking at tight deals and Grant has told you to get 2 times your cash, sometimes that extra $2,500 might be the making difference.
Yeah, because the biggest complaint you hear all day long in any kind of meetup or networking setting or even just on Facebook is there's no deals, there's too much competition, there's too many new people in the industry, there's too much, there's excuse about why you're not getting a deal. The reality is there are still plenty of deals. Just go to the, I mean, hell, how many people were at the auctions yesterday and how many houses were at auction? Those are all potential deals before they got to auction. It's just we as a community didn't do a good enough job of either A, marketing to those people, or B, conveying the message of why they don't need to be going to auction. So there's always plenty of deals. That said, yeah, there's still competition, and like Grant says, you know, $2,500 may be the reason that it might be the difference in your ability to make that deal close.
Yeah.
Or not close, but win it from get the contract.
Right. So here's another like kind of basic rule of thumb on our arrears that we're talking about here. I just worked out, like in this example, what if P and I and T and I all were $500, but that's not what it's going to be in the real world. Just for a real quick example, let me show you back here. I'm going to run a calculation, or I'm going to show you my calculator here to show you how principal and interest loans work. So let's say that this is our loan. You know, we've got a 30-year loan at 6.6%, $202,000. Our loan payment would be $396. Actually, you know what? Yeah, whatever. We'll leave it there. If we look at the amortization schedule of that, you'll notice, let me make it more exaggerated. Let's do like a normal owner financed deal. Let's say $150,000 or whatever, $100,000 loan for 9.5% for 30 years. That's going to be $840 a payment. If you look at it, $791 on payment one, $791 of that payment, which is only an $840 payment, $790 of that is going towards interest, purely interest. So in this case, only $50 would actually be hitting the principal. But if you look later on down the road, and this is how an amortized loan works, later on down the road, we've got deals where, like at the top of this page here, now $490 is going towards interest, $350 is going towards principal. As time goes on, more and more starts to affect your principal, and less starts to affect your interest. Here's how that looks in graphical form. You've got a balance, which is this green shade. The blue line shows how much in a percentage of every payment, how much of that payment is going towards principal, and the red line is as a percentage, how much towards each payment is going towards interest. So you see at the beginning, almost the entire payment is going towards interest. As time goes on, that relationship changes. The reason I'm saying that is that as we start to look for our rule of thumb on saying like 2 times cash and running that number, and we've got arrearages that we're dealing with, usually with the houses that we're running into, it's about 15% of whatever that back payment number is, whatever your reinstatement number is, it's about 15% of that is actually going to go towards the principal. But if they bought their house 20 years ago, that percentage is going to be higher because more of each payment that was missed should have been going towards the principal. Does that make sense? Are y'all following me? So just keep that in mind. If it's a house that was bought last year, maybe 5% of those back payments are going to go towards a principal. If it was bought 20 years ago, maybe 30% of that is going to go toward. You don't really know, but a basic kind of just running it, off of experience, about 15% of that number is going to go towards your principal.
But back to the rule of thumbs, what are some other just crazy rule of thumbs in the owner finance world because I think that the 2x money in to make sure you have equity, I think that's gold. And if you don't really understand the power of that, or maybe it's not new to you, and maybe you're like, well, no kidding, Grant, that's day one school stuff. But you know what? That's what we're here for. We're trying to give you advanced stuff, but we're also trying to give you basics. On this, I don't know if it's basic or if it's advanced because
it's advanced, yeah.
With the owner finance world, that's still fairly new to me in one way.
Yeah, this is not a standardized, this is something that Grant Kemp has found. This is not a standardized, hey, if you're in owner financing, this is what you do. But as somebody who trains, CreativeCashFlow.com, people how to do this stuff, I needed to come up with kind of some rules of thumb to help. And I've started looking at all my deals and analyzing, and this is kind of what we arrived at with it. So the 2 times cash is your first. Your 82% is kind of your caveat. The last hurrah there, and this is what's going to account for, what if I get a lender to put that $20,000 in and I'm only out of pocket of my actual money blank? Here's where this last one comes in. The last one is, I want whatever cash you have out of your pocket to be reimbursed within the first 18 to 20 months.
And by reimbursed, you mean if you do a wrap and you sell to an owner finance, you want that down payment to be is it down payment or down payment and those first 18 months worth of payments?
First 18 months worth of payments. Because let's take an example. I'll pull back another example on the whiteboard for us. Let's look at a deal where we have, whatever. It's a $100,000 ARV. And we've got $20,000 in arrears, and we've got $15,000 in repairs. Okay, and for sake of argument, let's say that we get these arrears taken care of by private money, and these repairs are our cash. The way that I would analyze this deal is let's say that, you know, we're taking over on a house. If I want it to be 82,000 and this ARV, what's that? 82 minus, what did I say? 35. So we would be taking over on a loan balance of 47 for us to hit one of our rules of thumb. That would be our 82% rule. But we got 20K of our $35,000 cash basis taken care of by a private lender. But we have $15,000 on the line of our actual cash. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at your cash that's coming out of your bank account, and I want you to get that back within 18 to 20 months. Okay? So what that means, and this is real quick and easy to do, is if we take that 15,000 and divide it by 18, you would want an $833 cash flow. Or I do it by 20, that'd be $750 cash flow. But like, you're probably not going to get a $750 cash flow. And Ryan, you hit this earlier, but what else? What other kind of cash are you getting in from an owner finance deal? When you sell it with owner financing, what's a big thing that you're getting from that?
The down payment.
The down payment. So obviously I can't get that whole $15,000 back within 18 months just based off of my cash flow, because I would have to have $850 of cash flow. But we got a $10,000 down payment in. So 10 of my 15 is being taken care of by the down payment. And so now if you look at our actual cash basis, the actual what is out of your pocket cash basis, now we're just looking at $5,000. Right? And so now if I do that, if I do $5,000 divided by 20, I only need a cash flow of $250 for this to hit my rule of thumb. Mm-hmm. So what we're going in, I call this kind of deal a net negative deal. What I mean by that is by the time we went to closing on our sale and we got our down payment in and all the cash that was going to happen right from the start, we were net negative by $5,000. We were under by $5,000 of actual cash that we put out. That's not a lending situation. And I want that cash to be paid back to you in 18 to 20 months. With these 3 rules of thumb, you should be able to pretty well analyze any owner finance deal that pops in front of you.
Real quick though, let's look at this from a typical wholesaler standpoint or a flipper. Mm-hmm. ARV 100, mm-hmm. 20,000 arrears, 15 in, well, we don't really care about the arrears. All we care about is repairs. Mm-hmm. But their loan balance is 47, so the 47 plus the 20, mm-hmm. whatever. So mm-hmm. they need at least 67,000 for that deal. You know, give or take, using the bad math. Okay. But maybe it's 65. But if it's a $100,000 house, 15 in repairs, and if I'm doing the 75% minus repair thing, I need to find a calculator, but I don't know where it is.
So what you would be doing is you'd be 100,000. I mean, it'd be 70. It'd be you want it at 75.
Yeah, I would have to buy that at as a flipper, I would need to buy that at 60.
Right.
But if I was a wholesaler, I would need to buy it at 50 mm-hmm. or 55 to make 10 to or 60 to whatever.
Yeah.
Basically, whatever cash offer I'm trying to make is lower than their payoff.
Right.
And so therefore, I'm not even in this ball game.
Right. Because
that's
again,
what I was trying to point out.
Keep in mind that our rule of thumb that we hit on this is that we bought it at an 82% value.
Right.
So obviously, if you need to buy it anything under than 82 cents, it's not going to work for cash, right? And in a wholesale, you want to be in at 75 so you can make some kind of wholesale fee. In this case, to make a long story short, they wouldn't be able to sell you that house for the price that you need.
You would quite literally have to do a short sale to even be in the ball game. So I know I was stuttering through that, but let me clear it up now that my brain's in on it. If I was a flipper / wholesaler, well, if I'm a wholesaler, that house is $100,000. I need to be buying at 75% minus repairs and then subtract this wholesaling fee. So if it's $15,000 in repairs, I need to buy it at $60,000. But if I want to make any money, I got to buy it at least 55, and 55 is less than the payoff. Therefore, the only way I can even get in this ball game is get a short sale, and then Grant Kemp or somebody else from the Creative Cash Flow clan comes through and they're like, oh, by the way, I can take it off your hands and then you don't have to, we're out.
Right, because the cash offer, the seller's having to come to the table, the closing table with $7,000, $8,000.
And that may happen.
That could happen. So just to make it clear here, we've got kind of a hierarchy of what we want. Our first thing we're going to run it by is 2 times cash when we're looking at analyzing a deal. Our second thing that we're going to look at is going to be if it does not meet our 2 times cash requirement, does it meet an 82% LTV, or I should really say basis on this. It's not really a loan if we've got cash in it as well, but is it at an 82% basis? And 3, the thing we're going to run at is an 18 to 20 month break even. Oops.
And these are your rules of thumb.
These are my rules of thumb.
Your RTT.
ROT.
Our rules of the thumb. Rules of Grant's thumb. There we go.
Hashtag rule of thumb donut.
I don't think that works.
So we're going to run them by those 3. Anytime you got a creative deal that might be pushing your values, run it by that. Do you have 2 times cash once you put the cash in? After you close in the acquisition? After you've caught their loan up? Because remember, some of that arrear payment, that back payment is going to go towards principal. If that doesn't work, are you at 82% or below? If you should be one of those 2. But, and I want you to kind of use those independently of number 3, right? You should be one of those 2. And if you're not, I want you to have a real good reason as to why you're not. And then if you've got cash in on the deal, if you are net negative, can you catch yourself back up in 18 to 20 months?
So I have not necessarily a case study, but Jeremy Miller he gave us some numbers, so might as well throw it out there, and just see how Grant Kipp's brain works it. He's got a house, ARV 185. I don't know if you want to write this down so you can fully, or you're looking at me like, man, I don't want to do this.
Well, you know, deal analysis live is tough because it's not something that you can just do in a couple of minutes. So we'll see. We'll see. Well, no, let's run it. Let's run it.
Sorry, Jeremy. No, 185 ARV. It needs 26 in rehab. And then there's, or 25 in rehab, and then 26 in the rears. It doesn't matter. 26 rehab, 26 rears. And then the payoff, and the note balance is 72. And the total payoff is 96, we'll just say 96,000.
Okay, so we've got a payoff, which is semi-irrelevant for us, except it's going to let us know why a cash buyer couldn't buy it. So we've got an $185,000 ARV. If we were a cash buyer, we need that 185, oops, we need that 185 times 0.75. We would like to be in at 138,750, minus the repairs, which would be 26 in this instance, so 26,000, oops, which leaves us with 112. So in this case, with a $96,000 payoff, and I'm assuming this is an actual payoff, not a loan balance. There is a difference in that. This is not the number that it's going to show you on the loan statement. This is actually going to be a payoff quote, which includes back payments, includes fees, all that kind of stuff. If this is that payoff, that means you could make them an offer for 112 and they would walk away with $20,000. Okay? But if we're trying to buy it for subject to, let's run it by these rules of thumbs. And again, I'm not gonna tell you how to buy this house because if we go too far deep, it would just take forever on this. But if we run this purely by our rule of thumb, we are going to have a cash basis of rehab and arrears of $51,000. Oops, how do I make a K? I don't know how to make the one letter.
I don't know how to English.
I just did the same thing. Okay, so $51,000 of cash basis on top of a $72,000 note. So I'm not gonna even count off money for like how much of these arrears are gonna go towards principal because we're just kind of doing this quick and dirty. But if I double that 51, that would be 102, which would mean that I would need my total. If I add the note, well, let me change colors here. If I add the note to my cash basis, that means that, and I'm going to do my 2 times cash, that means that I need a 173 ARV to hit my first rule of thumb, which we definitely hit because we've got 185.
So immediately, if you're just And we don't, like you said, we don't need to get too far into it, but I just wanted to show that if you just have a few numbers, you know that you have something you need to be getting in your car, driving over to their house, and inking up a contract.
Absolutely. And on that point too, is if, you know, like we saw here, you could have given him $20,000 cash from a cash offer. So, and you've got, you know, whatever, $12,000 of a difference right here, right? We've got $12K difference right here. If we were going to use just purely this rule of thumb, we would take whatever that $12,000 difference is, divide it by 2, which means that we've got $6,000 we could give to the seller as cash for keys and still hit our 2 times cash rule. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, dude, if you've got that deal in front of you, pen it up. Go get that done, man, because this works for a cash deal.
So real quick, we got some other people on here. Before I get to the question, I just want to say shout outs to everybody. Sonia, always watch from Arizona. Fernando from San Antonio. Christina from Houston. Carrie from Houston. See, I learned where y'all are from because y'all drop in the comments. If you want me to know where you're from, that sounds kind of creepy. Would love
Tell
to know
me your address.
Where do you live? Would love to know where you're from, just so we know what kind of impact we're having out there. So, Chris Walker, Robert Flowers, Roy, Rocha, Sean, Miranda, Grant, that's you. Jeff, Jeremy, Greg, Tennille, Brady, Dace, LaQuisha, Angelica, Nicole, Jinwoo, thank you so much for tuning in. I know Nicole had a quick question up here. Where did it go?
What about figuring your payment for private money?
That's it.
That actually, if you look at our Grant Teach Me Something on backing into the deal, that's where you would learn about that. That is a whole topic in and of itself. So,
Nicole, I'll find that link and I'll tag in it.
Yeah, and if anything, and I might address that one again coming up soon because it's an important one. It is a good one. But the short of it is that you just basically look at whatever your cash flow is that's going to come in. Like if you've got a $70,000 loan balance, you're taking sub 2, and its payment is $500 a month. And you know that you can pay, or you can get this house sold with a payment of $1,500 a month. That would mean that you have $1,000 a month to play with, and with that $1,000 a month, that's how you structure out how you're going to pay back your private money from that $1,000. That's your play money. So that's the short and sweet of it.
And then I can actually answer a question because I know stuff.
Awesome.
Jason Henry's asking, is 82% based off an ARV or the appraised value? I'll answer from my point of view. Pretty much any time ever talking about real estate, we're talking about the after repaired value, because very rarely are we even dealing with the appraised value, because as real estate investors, we're cheap as hell and we're not getting an appraiser out there unless we absolutely have to.
Right.
So I would say 99.1000% of the time we're talking about ARV.
But to add to that, if you are using Propelio.com for your comps and you are running comps the right way, your comped value of it should be what that house would appraise for. You know, those aren't two different numbers ultimately. So just adding on to that.
Robert, that's awesome. You live in California and have property in Arizona. I love hearing that. Well, I love that we're reaching people in California. Right now, real quick, we will be doing a t-shirt giveaway fairly soon here. If I can get to 100 comments, I'll do a t-shirt giveaway. Right now, we're at 61 comments. So
you better throw in those comments.
Throw in those questions. I've got literally 37 people watching. So if y'all just said hello, we would be giving away a t-shirt. So
right.
that's on you to say, hey guys, or hopefully it's
and
meaningful.
You will be model-esque if you get this.
Yes,
and look at that.
Obviously,
that's what you'll look like if you wear this shirt.
If you wear this shirt,
guaranteed.
You look like I woke up this way.
I woke up this way.
But yeah, if we can drop some comments in, say hello, tell us where you're from. Would love for the comments to actually have meaning versus Ryan's a dork, but you know what? We'll take it.
So Nicole popped in. Thank you. I probably worded that wrong. When you say that you like to get your money back in 18 to 20 months, you are only factoring in what you yourself have out and not your borrowed money from the private money lender? Yes, that's absolutely right. So whatever money you have out, the investor has out of their pocket, that's the money that I'm looking for when I say net negative. Because if you get your money funded from a lender, it's leveraged. It's not actual cash that you need to get back into your bank account. I'm big on hold your cash. I'm big on like your cash is your money. That's how you pay staff. That's how you put food on your table. Protect that cash. go get lending. I'm big on get a private money network. And that being said, I mean, shameless plug, if you are watching this video and you are interested in placing capital that you have in an IRA or something, that's where I'm getting the capital to do these kinds of deals. So reach out. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we do.
Yeah, so Nicole, like as far as capital goes, there are plenty of hard money lenders out there that'll help you out. There are plenty of, I mean, Toby, if you were watching earlier, I was joking around with him. He's with Global Integrity Financing. I know Kelly Smith with Easy Capital, she watches these a lot. But there's plenty of private capital and like Grant said, there's IRA. If you have a Quest IRA function, go to one of theirs because they've got plenty of people trying to give money away. So there's plenty of money out there. You just need to find the right deal because if you have a good deal, money will find you.
Absolutely. Jeremy has a good question. So ARV equals basis equals 82%. That's not actually what I'm saying here. So ARV is going to be your after repair value, right? That's once everything is fixed up, what would this house be worth? After it's repaired, its value will be blank, right? That's your ARV. Basis can mean many different things. Basis, when we talk about that, is like how much do you have in on it? So you've got like a cash basis, right? Like how much cash do you have in on it? If you're net negative $5,000, you have a cash basis of $5,000, and you have like your it's not a loan basis. What's the word I'm looking for? But loan basis. Let's say you took over on a. Well, I'll whiteboard this up because maybe we're going to start talking about too many things here. So let's say that you've got a $100,000 ARV. That means after repair value. That's just once it's fixed up, what's it going to be worth? Let's say that you've got a $60,000, gosh, I can't draw, $60,000 underlying lien to like Bank of America. Well, this is going to go towards your you could say loan or finance basis or whatever. I rarely talk on those terms, but basis. And let's say that you got a $20,000 private money loan. This would also go towards your loan basis. So you've got a total of 80 grand in loans. And then you put $5,000 of your own cash in. That would be your cash basis. And then if you add those together, you would have an $85,000 total basis. So again, basis is just a quick way of saying like, what do you have in it? And that's kind of how those would go through. Now, when we're talking about 82%, I'm saying I want you to get 82% of this ARV, and I want that to be your total basis. I would like your total basis to be 82% if you are getting into a deal where you're putting cash in and taking over sub 2.
Mm-hmm. And that's the whole goal is, yes, there's so many strategies. There's flipping, there's wholesaling, there's, pretty much real estate investing is the wild, wild west of whatever. You could literally, if you could think of it and go for it. I mean, that's why we always talk about get creative. Hell, even in this scenario, I don't know if it would make sense, but say you're strapped for $5,000, but you can find somebody who's going to give you a 10-in-1 loan. 1% origination is $500, and 10% is what, $50, $500 divided by 12, whatever that be. Like, what would
I don't
whatever
know.
math. It'd be a cheap loan. Obviously, $5,000 is not that much money, but $5,000 to keep in your pocket or spend a little bit more to use somebody else's $5,000. And those are all questions you have to ask yourself. But the key thing is to always be creative, always think outside the box, and also always keep learning. So, what else we got, Grant? Or we wrapping up?
Yeah, let's. We're basically wrapping up there. How many comments do we have?
We're at 91, so I think we should just end it, and I'll save a T-shirt. No, I'm just kidding. Does Creative Cash Flow want to give anything away?
That's what I was just looking at over here. And I actually did not plan. I don't have cool swag or anything like that.
Give a book away. Be nice.
I got to come up with a book to give away. And we got some people asking for a T-shirt over on Creative Cash Flow.
Toby, man, Toby left my Propelio stream to go and jump in your stream.
I mean, you can't help it if I'm better.
So you're saying
my stream is better.
You're better than Daniel? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I went there.
Tang needs a medium. He needs a medium. Do you have any mediums for Tang? Tang, it's not a white t-shirt though. Are you gonna wear it?
Okay, so let me just do this real quick. I'll give everybody about 30 seconds to wrap up. Get in there, boom, boom, boom.
In the meantime, I will give a shameless self-plug for CreativeCashFlow.com. Thank you for having my logo so on the fly there, Travian. CreativeCashFlow.com. It's where the investor that wants more gets it. That is what we're all about. We want to make sure that real information is getting in front of you. And I focus a lot on seller financing and breaking things down into stuff like this. You know, the reason that you see CreativeCashFlow.com paired up with Propelio over here is that we share our why. We both want to make sure that everybody's getting a great education, that you're having real information that's actionable put in front of you, not just some guru that's never done it before saying, hey, like, this is how you can pay me more money for my next level. So if you like how Grant Teach Me Something goes and you want like an actual academy style, let's take it from start to finish with me teaching you, check out CreativeCashFlow.com. And then I'd also do personal mentoring. Robert Flowers out of California. When you win a t-shirt, please DM me your address and your shirt size, and we will hook you up, sir. As far as what Propelio's got going on, we are launching the Propelio Academy October 1st. We're going to be doing a beta release fairly soon here. I'm not sure what that day is. Maybe next week, maybe 2 weeks now. We're working on it. That's going to be a one-stop shop for all your real estate investing needs to learn stuff. Grant has hooked us up with a lot of content. But the whole goal of that is so you don't have to spend $30,000, $50,000 on a traveling snake oil guru guy. You can get the information for free at the Propelio Academy. On top of that, if you're in DFW or in a surrounding area of DFW, next Tuesday, August 14th, we've got our DFW Real Estate Investor Meetup. It is quite literally, this is not hyperbole, the hottest real estate investor function in North Texas. We get anywhere from 400 to 600 people. You have education, you have networking, and it's basically a big party. So if you're looking for those opportunities to network / have fun / learn, next Tuesday, 5 o'clock, Palace Theater in Grapevine, open bar, free Chick-fil-A. It's gonna be ton. The headline that we have on this one is we're gonna have Will Crozier sit down with Daniel and literally just have a sit down. It's something we've never done before, but our big thing there is to always keep changing it up and let people know what's going on. Just keep it differently. Also, Grant's volunteered. He's gonna be our MC of the event, so you don't have to see my mug up on stage anymore, at least for this event. At least this event.
And then on San Antonio, August 20th, we will be doing an event in your neck of the woods, and we'll be announcing more details of that pretty soon, but you can register for both. Anyway, that's it. Anything for you?
Well, I will be giving away, I'm going to give away the book Multipliers because I think it is a very important book to learn how to lead your team, and I ran it, and we have a winner of Jamal Khan. Woo, Jamal Khan. So, hey, message me, Jamal, with your mailing address, and we will send you out from CreativeCashFlow.com the book Multipliers, which I think you should really enjoy. I do have one more question. Matt says it's Creative Cash Flow free training. I am not free training. Creative Cash Flow is not. So Propelio and Creative Cash Flow share our why. We differ in our how. Our how with Propelio is through free training events. My how, CreativeCashFlow.com, is a paid academy. My mentorships are paid mentorships, but it's a little bit different. I do have a lot of stuff at the Academy. There is a lot of stuff behind Creative Cash Flow that's not going to be on the Academy. And then every Monday night on CreativeCashFlow.com, I do a live Q&A session for all of the members where you can just ask any questions you want, and I will answer them all live for you.
And Robert, you just opened up a huge hornet's nest because he's like, let's say I have cash that I want to lend out for deals. What's the going interest rate? The going interest rate is whatever you come to agree on. What I would say to that real quick, though, is anybody you potentially lend to, make sure that they can produce HUDs, which is basically a report card of whether they are or not doing deals. But what you really want to see is a HUD where they've lost their money. Because if they've lost money but they've actually paid their lenders, that's what you want to see. So if a potential lender or lendee can't produce those HUDs, walk away from them.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all I got. You got anything else?
Just one more question that I did see is, where did it go? Oh, dang it, we had a question. On your sub-2 deals that you own or finance out, what kind of interest rates are you giving to your buyers? Typically about 9.5%. But again, watch the wraparounds video for a big explanation. And the Dodd-Frank video.
That's literally what I was just talking about.
What?
I literally was just answering that.
No, you answered the money. You answered the what to do with private money. This one says on sub 2 deals that your owner financing out.
Oh, okay, different. Yeah, different comment. My bad. Anyway, we'll see you next time. So, high five out.
Bye now.
Man, what you got?